Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. And this is an FPL team selection for game week 2. As always, I'm joined by Yelena. Yelena, how's it going? Thanks so much for hopping on today.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's going well. I'm excited to talk about game week 2. Game week 1 was a success. So I'm feeling good about FPL as it stands. That might go downhill, but it's going well.
You did so good. It's like insane. I have to say, I usually have an absolute crap start. So it was a little bit better than I thought. But guys, in this video, I have like so much planned. I spent hours making the graphics. So we're going to go through our game week 1 teams and what happened. And then we're going to go through some buy and sell options, some opinions about like the transfers in and transfers out that have been made so far, team of the week analysis. We have a game planned with a special cameo guest, and then go over some plans for game week 2 as well. So I think that my stream should already be in here. So if I just press slideshow, this should hopefully be working properly. So this was my game week 1 team. I had 77 points, which put me just at about 1.2 million. And like I said, I always have like a really, really rough start to the season. So I was actually very happy with like kind of starting off above average. I had Onana in goal, and he definitely should not have gotten 9 points. It was a clear penalty towards the end of the United game. But I'll take it because I didn't see the Gabriel news in time. So he was stuck in my team. I didn't transfer him out for Saliba. So that's one of the things that I kind of have in the back of my mind that I'll talk about come my game week 2 team. Ben Chilwell got the attacking return. He was super far forward like we expected, and that left-hand side of Chelsea's operating more forward than the right-hand side, which is what we saw in preseason. Estupiñán got the attacking return as well. And then going to my midfield, it was a little bit of a mixed bag. So Saka, super happy with him, but the rest just didn't really hit it for me. So Rashford, I want to keep an eye on him. He had 0.30 expected goals and 0.02 expected assists. And if you take a look at his heat map from the game, he didn't really get into especially good positions. He was actually around central midfield a lot, and especially more than I would expect. He had just one key pass, and United played pretty poorly. They have some difficult fixtures coming up as well. So for me, Rashford is one that I'm keeping a key eye on to think maybe if I stick or twist. What do you think, Yelena?
I feel the exact same. It sounds really bizarre because through every single draft, Rashford has been absolutely locked in. But I felt a bit of relief if I do have that flexibility to bring him out, because there are so good midfield options and cheaper ones too. So then that gives us more funds to spread around the rest of the team. So Rashford is one. I'm the same. I was so surprised by that game the other night. The ending was terrible, like you said, and Arna should not have gotten the 9 points. And I was really expecting Fernandes to be on it. I thought he was going to get at least a goal or an assist, something. The fact that we managed to survive without Fernandes, I'm really pleased about. But it is really disappointing that Rashford didn't do more.
Yeah, I'm personally like happy that I didn't go with the United double of attack in the end. And it's exactly what you said is what I'm thinking. Like Rashford's 9 million, you can downgrade him to a Madison who's at 7.5 million, or there's a lot of really, really good options at the 6.5 million mark as well. So that's definitely one that I'm thinking about. And Eze was one of the 6.5 million options. I think we both went for him. And I actually thought that he had a better game than his point suggests. And he had 0.51 expected goals, 0.59 expected assists. He got really far forward on the left-hand side and through the center as well. And he had 7 key passes and 1 big chance created. So despite just getting 3 points, I am going to hold on to him for 1 more week at least, especially if Rashford doesn't perform. It was a bit unfortunate because I think a lot of the other 6.5 million midfielders did deliver. But but I do feel like the underlying stats look positive at least.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I've seen a lot of people have a knee-jerk reaction and take Eze out. And I think that is the wrong move. I think he had an off week. He was so unlucky not to finish and not to get a return. It felt like salts in the wound because I was very tempted to go for Matoma or Mbemo. Went for Eze, but I still think long-term it is the right decision because he's looking incredible. Plus he's on penalties. I think he's a really good, decent asset to have. And he is cheap. And hopefully people will sell him. The ownership will go down. He'll have a week where he hauls and then he'll go up in price and our team value will increase as well. So we're going to play the long game with Eze, I think.
Exactly. And that's something that I'm really trying to do this season is just like play more the long game, because last season I did have too many knee-jerk reactions. And then so for Martinelli, he didn't particularly have the best games, 0 expected goals and 0.22 expected assists. He actually did get an assist. The heat map showed that he played really far forward on the left-hand side, but he didn't get into the box all that much. I think that was down to Arsenal's formation and tactics, and likely we won't see Arteta implement the same system going forward. He had 3 key passes, and Arsenal have pretty favorable fixtures as well coming up. So they face Crystal Palace away, Fulham at home, United at home, and then Everton away. So for me, I definitely want to see how he gets on. And I think I'm going to keep him in my team. The one that I'm really focused on is Rashford, and then secondary Eze. And I think I'm pretty happy with Saka and Martinelli.
No, I think it looks really strong. And also, if you do downgrade Rashford, that means, depending on what happens with Anderson, you might look at upgrading him to someone else too. Because I think pre-season he was amazing, but he's just not starting. I don't know whether I think he's earned his place to being the starting lineup. It's really unfortunate that he's not getting the minutes in yet. He could be one to maybe hold on to, see what happens further on in the season. But the safest bet would maybe be to upgrade him to someone else that you'll start.
Yeah, exactly. And then we're going to talk about Watkins and Nico Jackson a little bit down the line, but the overall gist is that I think that they looked good. Aston Villa, never expected them to lose 5-1 to Newcastle. I don't foresee that kind of result happening again. And Nico got into really good positions as well. So overall, could have gone better, but I knew that Nico Jackson was a bit of a punty pick. A lot of people went for Joao Pedro, that he did return, but I'm hoping in the long term this one works out. But let's get to your team, because you did freaking amazing this week.
The thing is, we are 10 points different. I think 85, it flies up the rank. It's so tight at the start of the season. So I'm really happy with the rank, but I know for a fact next week it will probably be in the millions. So it's nice. It's a nice start. It's a bit of a confidence boost, but there's so much luck involved in it as well, because I got the early team news, and that's why I brought in Saliba. So then that was 5 points. He got the assist. It was after our last video, actually. You were talking about having United coverage, and that's when I realised I'd taken out Shaw and I hadn't brought in any United defence whatsoever. So that's why I went for Onana, and then he got the 9 points. Like we said, that was really lucky that he got that. Otherwise, I would have been on the Pickford bandwagon. That was who I originally had. So that was a really good choice too. And that was 2 things that I did that were pure luck. And the early teas, I know that caught a lot of people out, which is really unfortunate. And then I also feel sorry for the people that already had Saliba in their teams. And then suddenly there was an influx where everyone was bringing him in. But our teams are so similar. I think, like you said, Eze just needs a little bit of time. Chilwell, I was so impressed with. His heat map is absolutely ridiculous. It doesn't look like that of Fenders. And his XG is really high. I think it was like 0.9 or something like crazy. So I think we made the right choice with Chilwell, and especially with Reece James now going off injured again, which is really sad and unfortunate news. And I think it's going to be really hard for the team too. They made him the captain. He was back after a disappointing season, and now he's already going off in game week 2. The morale must be a bit of a struggle. But I'm glad that we went for Chilwell. It was annoying when he got that goal. I got a notification from the Premier League app, and I was on the train. I was like, yes, lost signal. Next bit when I had signal, and then it came through that VAR disallowed it. But it's good that he is going to score. So it's a good omen for the future.
Exactly. Like I was like, yeah, okay, maybe it's offside, like darn it. But he gets into such good positions, and he literally, for his goal, he was taking up a striker role as a left back. And as we know, he has an incredible finish on him. So I think that we're definitely going to see more of Chilwell. And especially with the signings of Caicedo and Lavia, like the defense is going to be a bit more shored up as well. So maybe we even see him like even more forward. Let's get into our buy options. So maybe not so surprising from me because I didn't want to talk about Nico Jackson too much. My buy is Nico Jackson, just 7 million at the moment and 15.9% ownership at the time that I made this graphic. Honestly, a bit higher than I thought it would be. Chelsea have super, super favorable fixtures over the next from game week 2 to 8, I think. So we see West Ham away, then Luton at home, Forest at home, Bournemouth away, and then Aston Villa at home. He didn't get any goals or assists in his last game, but he missed 3 big chances. One that was super clear that you would expect him to have put into the back of the net. I think it was just like the nerves of the occasion, making his Chelsea Premier League debut, playing against Liverpool. But he got into such good areas. His heat map was off the charts, like so hot in the 6-yard box. He had 2 shots off target as well, and really expected goals of 0.53. So I think that he's a really good buy. I think he's really good value, especially for the fixtures that Chelsea have as well. I think that overall it's just a player that has gone under the radar a little bit, and maybe we're going to see more people hopping onto.
I think so. And also, we haven't actually discussed this. Chelsea's performance against Liverpool were incredible. I honestly thought we were going to have an opening fixture and we were going to lose, and it would just be an awful start to the season. The fact that it was 1-1, I will take that. I think we're a different team this season. We're really motivated, and I think Jackson is an absolutely great pick. I am really surprised at the ownership. I didn't expect it to be 15.9%. I thought it'd about half that. So that's interesting that other people also jumping on to him. But I do think it's the fixtures. Chelsea's opening fixtures are so good, so welcoming. And I think if we can get off to a good start, when we do get into the tougher territory, we're going to be so confident and so sort of put together as a team that this could be a good season for us. Obviously, like I said, Reece James has gone out injured, which is a massive blow to the team. But I think we've got this. I'm feeling good.
Yeah, honestly, like you said, just to perform how we did against Liverpool, I actually felt that we were the better team for the majority of the game as well. And now we have Malo Gusto, who I think is going to be he's been really positive whenever he's come on the pitch. So I don't think it's going to be, obviously it's a difference in quality because I think Reece James is like one of the best right backs in the world, if not the best right back in the world. But it's not going to be as stark of a difference in terms of like attacking going forwards. The role is meant to be a little bit further back anyways. And Jackson seemed to be getting involved with everything. And I'm really keen to see as well with Caicedo. Enzo is going to be playing further up the pitch. And I think that he's going to link up well with Nico Jackson. So keep your eyes on that one. And your buy is somebody that I have my eye on. I literally had him in my team. And then I was like, oh, Spurs. And so then I transferred him out for Eze. And now I'm regretting it a bit.
So I had Maddison last season and he burnt me, and I think I held it against him. Then when he moved over to Spurs, I thought he could be a really good asset to have. But where we didn't know what the future was with Harry Kane, whether he was staying, he was going, I didn't know what the midfield was going to look like. I was kind of torn between Son, Richarlison and Maddison. Turns out Maddison is the one. He is I think Son's 9 million, Richarlison maybe 7 million. So 7.5 million. Everything in Spurs' attack was going through Maddison. He is going to be, I think, the best FPL asset season. He's going to be that kind of bargain pick where you don't have to completely tear up your team to bring him in. But if you go without him, I think he'll be very similar to how Almiron was during part of last season, where it was every single week he was returning. And it was it got too late to jump on the bandwagon. I would love to bring him in immediately, but I think I need to let my midfield rest a bit, see how Rashford does, keep an eye on Eze. But for the Bournemouth fixture, and then they've got Burnley and Sheffield United, I think I'd be an idiot not to bring him in by game week 3. Obviously, he got 2 assists in the opening game. It's key passes, 6 key passes. I just think he is such a strong asset to have. And he's going to really be part of sort of Spurs' core attack. So, yeah, it's funny that he's on your radar too. I think we're going to probably make the same transfer that game week.
I think so. I really do. And I think like the stats kind of speak for themselves. I do want to give it another game week just to see how it gets on, but I have a feeling that that is going to be one of the transfers that I'll be making. And now we have our sell. So we both went for City players. I went for Stones. It seems, well, when I picked this, the news came out that the news hadn't come out yet that he was injured. Now it seems that he has sustained an injury. I'm not sure for how long he is meant to be out injured. I know that he was on the bench and was targeting a return for Newcastle, but now it looks unlikely. And obviously, I put the predicted points for how many we think that he's going to get in the next couple of games. It's at 4.26, so it's pretty high, the City defense. But I also don't think that maybe he's necessarily as nailed on as I had initially thought as well. So I think that you can maybe get better bang for your buck and maybe go with a cheaper midfielder, or if you don't have Chilwell already, I think Chilwell is going to be pretty essential, so make a switch to Chilwell if you don't own him, for example.
No, definitely. I think it's really funny because, again, the ownership, 19.9%. Apart from Haaland, I avoided all City players. I didn't really consider them because of Pep Roulette. It was too risky. Whereas now you've got Pep Roulette and they seem to be dropping like flies. There are injuries going through City. Like there's no tomorrow. And I've seen a lot of people, I feel really bad where they have started with Stones or will come on to the next player. But it must be really disheartening that you have game week 2 and you already have a fire to put out in the team. So I completely agree with this one. Sell as soon as possible and hopefully go for a more nailed player.
I was like trying to find a way to get him into my team. And in the end, I didn't, but I'm really glad that that worked out for me. Let's talk about your sell because I think it's a bit obvious, but the ownership is still relatively high as of last night when I made this graphic.
Yeah, so it was funny because I got some messages on Twitter asking whether or not he's a good asset to bring in. And I said no, again, because of the Pep Roulette situation. But then now he's injured as well. And I don't, because he's out for months. Is it 4 months or something?
Yeah, he's a long
time.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the reasons, because obviously it is a very obvious sell, but one of the reasons I wouldn't bother even rolling a transfer and I'd get rid of him straight away is because of the price. You can really improve your team so much if you get rid of him. And I think I'd personally probably sell De Bruyne, probably sell someone else, and then try and find a way to bring in Salah, depending on how he does game week 2. But some people have even got money in the bank. They might be able to do a straight swap and bring in Salah instead. But it's such a loss to City. And I really hope that it doesn't impact Haaland and the team can still do well enough so that I get those points in FPL.
That would be super interesting though, because then maybe we would be forced to make like different captaincy options even instead of just armband on Haaland.
Exactly.
So moving forward, this is something new that I thought would be fun just to have like a quick comment on the transfers in. So these are the top 5 transfers in at the moment. Isak topping it because he had a fantastic game week 1, but I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit surprised because Newcastle play Man City away, Liverpool at home, Brighton away, and then Brentford at home. So I think that it's pretty difficult fixtures. Not to say that he can't score. I tend to say like go for form over fixtures, but just because it's only been like 1 game week of data, I haven't pulled the trigger yet. And I think I would want to wait until like around game week 4 to potentially bring someone like Isak in.
It's really funny because I have a work mini league. There's 5 of us. And I was looking through very confidently when everyone set their teams. And every single other person in this league, apart from me, had triple Newcastle. And I was like, what are you doing? That's so ridiculous. They all had Isak up front. I was like, oh, they know nothing. And then he had that haul. And I was like, oh my God, I've spent my summer researching and trying to build the best team possible. But I agree with you. I think it's probably more casual players looking at it, just saying, okay, he did really well in this game week. He's going to do well in future game weeks, not really weighing up the fact that they are difficult fixtures. And the thing is, if this game week, Isak does the exact same thing and Wilson comes on and just scores from the bench, then it may be that we have to think maybe they're fixture proof and they're having a really strong season, and it could be a consideration to bring him in. At the moment, I don't see that happening. I think, like you, I'm going to wait until the fixtures improve. But it's a really interesting one, and it's also so funny. He's kind of following trends, and that's why this section's really useful. Looking at the top trends and seeing why people are making certain moves, because there's a lot on here. I mean, Chilwell, Estepinian, they're the two that I think, yeah, absolutely. And then Saka, I'm surprised that people didn't own him in the first place. Yeah. But Isak, I'm so surprised that is the top transfer, but that's just from one game.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, and Rodri as well, I was surprised because I don't think he typically contributes so much to goals and assists. So I was surprised to see him brought in when there's like other, maybe more evident, like players. And then we'll take a look at the transfers out as well. I think like these all pretty much make sense. Like if you still have Harry Kane in your team, what are you doing? He doesn't play in the league anymore, which is like really, really weird to say. Gabriel making it, and that's a really interesting point. Like I personally own Gabriel. I'm holding him for the moment. I'll get into it a little bit more with my team, but I think it's interesting as well to see that he was benched for one game week because of the tactics, and then he's sold by over 200,000 players at the moment.
It is interesting, and I think I would do the same as you. The only reason the transfer was because it was ahead of the deadline, and that was that. Whereas I think actually it's good probably just to hold on to, see what happens for game week 2. As long as you've got you either bench him or you start him, but you make sure your first substitute is strong enough and you don't mind getting their points instead. I think this is, again, another knee-jerk reaction. I was kind of expecting to see Eze on this list as well. I feel as though my Twitter was just full of people transferring out Eze and bringing in someone else. But, I mean, like you said, it all makes sense, really. It's such a shame about Mings. I think that completely knocked Villa's performance at the start of the game. And I think that explains why they were very off as well. And I'm hoping he has because I was torn between Mings and Cash. Luckily, I went Cash. But Mings is such a good asset to have. It's a real shame that he's been transferred out of so many teams.
Yeah, and to get that injury as well. Yeah. So kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum, this is the team of the week. And I always think that is interesting because sometimes you can have, I don't want to say like random players, but maybe players that you wouldn't expect. So Disasi from Chelsea, for example, stands out to me. But somebody that I'm keeping my eye on, Harvey Barnes from Newcastle, like completely went under the radar, but I think that he could low-key be a really good option. 1 goal, 1 assist versus Villa, 2 key passes, 2 big chances created, and he's a 6.5 million midfielder. So I don't know, depending how he gets on in the next couple of weeks, maybe you could do a straight swap with your 6.5 million midfielder if you're not happy with them, or you can downgrade one of your midfielders. So I thought that one really stood out to me. What about you?
He is one of those players. I think if you can get him ahead of his sort of popularity going up, you will be absolutely winning at FPL. One that's really caught my eye is Anderson. So I didn't consider a Palace defender. Last season, I had Gahey, and I was really, really pleased with him. Anderson, when I kept him pop up in teams and he did well, I got a little bit of FOMO. I wasn't very happy. He got 9 points in total. And I think, yeah, maybe I've overlooked the Palace defence. This is the problem, though. Throughout every single draft I did in pre-season, I kind of pigeonholed on certain players that I wouldn't think outside of them. And yeah, and then again, I'm sure that's just luck that people brought him in, or maybe because they were going off of his form last season. But I don't know. I think he might come back to haunt me if he is fixture proof.
He might. I feel like there's always one that, like, whenever I bring them in, they do like horribly, and then I take them out and they'll just like go kill it. Cool. So now we're coming to our game, which is totally new. So I'll explain how it's going to work. Each week, Yelena and I are going to give a pick of one player that we think is going to be like the top scorer, and then one differential player that we think is going to do extremely well as well. So it's going to be 5 points for a goal, 5 points for a clean sheet, 3 points for an assist. And then if we pick the player that gets like the most points out of anybody in the in the game, I guess. It'll be like an extra 10 points added. And we have a guest every week that we're going to alternate some expert in the FPL community. So had to start off with Ross, FPL Raptor, of course, friend of the show. And then we want you guys to get involved too. So comment below which player you think is going to score the most or get the most points, and which differential you think is going to do the best. And the one with the most likes will be the one that we count towards as well. I hope that people see this because it's 25 minutes into the video. So I'll kind of
clip it for TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll go through mine quickly. I kind of spoke about Ollie Watkins briefly earlier, but like I have mentioned, I felt that he got into really good positions, 0.23 expected goals, 1 shot on target, 2 key passes as well. The Aston Villa do have a bit of a mixed bag of fixtures, facing Everton at home, then Burnley away, then Liverpool away, and Crystal Palace at home. But I do think like Everton at home could be a favorable fixture, so that's why I went for him. And I kind of want to see how he gets on. I really like having Ollie Watkins in my team. He was a pretty mainstay last season. So I've kind of gone maybe not so obvious, maybe a little bit differential as I tend to go in these games. But yeah, that's my pick. What about you, Yelena?
So I've gone for Salah, and I think this to ease the fact I don't own him. So if he does get a return, I've won something. But I think he's looking really strong at the moment. And the Liverpool-Bournemouth fixture, there is so much emphasis on it. And I almost tore up the entire team just to bring Salah in for the Game Week 2 fixture. I don't see him coming away with it without some sort of return. He obviously got an assist last game. He did score, but again, disallowed by VAR. But he looks like he's back on form. Last season, he had quite a slow start, whereas this season, he looks like he wants that golden boot. So that is why I have picked Salah. And I'm hoping I lose this game. And it means that Salah did blank. But like I said, covering bases.
I feel like it would be better to lose this game than for him to get the points in FPL, but I understand it. And here's Ross going through his picks.
Hello everyone, FPL Raptor here. First thing before I go into my picks, if you're not yet subscribed to Ellie's YouTube channel and you want to tune into weekly content with both Ellie and Yelena, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Completely free for you to do, takes 2 seconds, so quickly do that. But moving into my picks, the 2 players that I think will score very well this week, let's start with the differential pick. And the differential pick for me is going to be Diaby of Aston Villa. We spoke about the £6.5 million midfielders throughout pre-season, which ones we thought would be the best. I actually placed Diaby at the 4th best, and there was reasoning for that. He is new to the league, and we want to see how he lines up at Aston Villa. And we may need to collect a little bit more data too, but he looked so good in Game Week 1, despite Newcastle absolutely battering Villa. He linked up very well with Ollie Watkins. And actually, I think the fixture against Everton at home in Game Week 2 is really, really nice. Everton actually conceded over 1.5 XG against Fulham, and I don't think that Fulham are the best attack in the league by any means. So I feel like this is a really nice fixture. I think Diaby will perform very well, and I think he will get more attacking returns in Game Week 2. And then moving on to just the player that I think will perform the best, he is almost a differential at around 12% ownership, and that is Darwin Nunez. Now, I know a lot of people are looking to sell him, and he may well not start again in Game Week 2. This is just a little bit of a vibes pick, but also backing the data that when he plays, he is exceptionally strong. He puts up, on average, over 1 expected goal involvement per 90. So brilliant stats. I think it's one of the best fixtures on paper going into Game Week 2. The only thing I would say is Bournemouth do look pretty decent so far under Iraola. So let's see how they line up in Game Week 2, but I don't think there's many other standout fixtures. And for now, I'm going for the top point scorer to be Darwin Nunez. Hopefully those picks are good ones.
All right, so here is my differential pick. I went really differential, 4.4% ownership. Enzo Fernandez, like maybe I'm a bit Chelsea biased, I don't know, but the underlying stats don't look so great, but the eye test did. And I feel like with Caicedo, he's going to get further forward as well. I think he's going to be operating more as an 8, and he was at the center of everything in the Liverpool game. He's also on corners, I think on both sides. He has a 5 out of 5 penalty record. We don't know who's going to be on pens for Chelsea yet, but especially with Reece James out injured, Reece James is a good penalty taker, but since he's not going to be on the pitch, I think it's likely going to go to Enzo or maybe Chilwell. So I'm curious to see who becomes Chelsea's penalty taker. But I feel like he's going to kick off. I'm actually really considering him as an FPL option, and even more so with Reece James being out injured, because I was considering the Chelsea double up defense. But I might bring him in as a super cheap option that he was sitting further back last season, and now he's going forward 5 million. I don't know. That's my pick. What about you, Yelena?
So I've gone for Taiwo, and this is mostly because it's Forest's first home fixture of the season. They're against Sheffield United, newly promoted side, and Forest are looking so strong this season. Taiwo actually got a goal against Arsenal in their first game. It was an Arsenal home game, and I thought they were going to get obliterated, but they've strengthened their attack, they've strengthened their defense. I think coming in from only like a 2-1 loss, which was a really tough fixture, is going to give them a real boost. And being back at the City ground, I think they're going to be absolutely going for it. Sheffield United's defense isn't great, and I think Taiwo, Mings, Morgan Gibbs-White, Brennan, I think they're all going to be so far forward, and just they've got something to prove, and they're going to really dominate this game. So I'm hoping, I mean, ownership 0.8%. I wish I owned him, because especially last week when he got a goal, he's absolutely on fire. I wasn't sure whether his good form last season, because he scored 6 goals in Forest's last 4 games, I thought that might just be because they were battling relegation, but it looks as though it's here to stay. So I think he could be a really good differential pick.
I'm really excited to see this one, because I feel like at the end of last season as well, if I'm not mistaken, he was really starting to kick off. So I'm excited to see if he brings it. And 0.8% ownership, you went for like an uber differential as well. So guys, we're already at about the half an hour mark. So what we're going to do is create another video with our Game Week 2 teams and answer your questions in a Q&A that you guys sent in on my Instagram and Twitter as well. So make sure to follow me on there if you want to get one of your questions featured, or put a question in the comments down below for the following week so that we can make sure to answer it. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this stream. I hope that you like the graphics, because I spent an embarrassing amount of hours trying to make them. Yelena, any last words for the people?
Best of luck in the game week. Remember, the opening game week doesn't really mean anything because everything can change so quickly. And do drop down some comments if you have any questions that you'd like us to answer, because we've loved discussing everything, don't we? And talking through people's dilemmas. For us, we have like a good half an hour chat before we even stream. So yeah, do let us know if you have any questions and we can answer them next week.
Amazing. So guys, hope that you enjoyed this stream. Make sure to follow Yelena and myself on socials, and hit us up with your FPL questions. Hope you guys have a great game week and a great rest of your day, evening, whatever time you're watching this. And until next time, we're out. Bye.
Bye.